The principal public relations officer and a spokesperson of Amnesty Commission in Uganda admitted that Ugandans are faking detection from rebel group in order to get amnesty. He revealed that they have received increased number of Ugandans who are seeking amnesty under the pretext of defection from a rebel group. He claimed that poverty is forcing many people to claim to be a part of the rebels. After screening, they found out that most of them are ordinary Ugandans. What he forgot to tell us is that what they discover now had been going on since 1996. Many well-organized group of people had been using LRA trademark, RDF trademark to earn money. So many organizations were created, brought abroad and at home. Here in Europe, we saw a lot of traffic coming and going from local councillors, ministers, political representatives. They were parading kids. They bring them to Europe, they train them, they tell them what to say, and they claim that they are abducted kids who returned from the bush. To be honest, this faking out involvement in the rebels, involvement is not something new. The fact is, a lot of people benefited from it. The local politicians benefited from it. The people in the diaspora started a lot of NGOs so raising money, either to help the orphan or those abducted who came back home. They made a lot of money. It became a network of councillors, local politicians, the politicians, even the government. Even the government. Because the moment the LRA as a rebel group, the RDF, people started creating stories. And the best they did, they turned LRA and RDF in a business model. It became a business model. You have LRA, RDF, Uganda. You have LRA and RDF, Congo. You have LRA and RDF, Southern Sudan or Sudan. They turned it into a business model. And people made money, a lot of money. And it does not surprise me that the Amnesty Commission in Uganda now admits, but there could also be a lot that passed through that system, because when they started, the system was not perfect. The system was not 100%. And it is possible that there's a lot of group that passed through that level and got what they wanted. Here in the diaspora, we have seen a lot. We have seen people being brought by local councillors to Europe. They bring these kids who are picked from home to come and talk about their experience in the bush. When I used to go for conferences, I used to meet a lot of them. One time I met a girl, a teen mother. I spoke to her. She told me that all her speech were written by the councillor and then the people who accompanied them. And she was coached what to say and how to say it. That is how I learned that LRA and 𝙁𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙒 has become a business model. People are earning their money on it. Believe it or not, whether you like it or not, they earn a lot of money, inside and outside. Inside Uganda and outside Uganda, they earn a lot of money. A lot of money. Within that process, you could see how people were very busy trying to earn a living. To be honest, Amnesty Commission screening just detected what is within their scope. What is within their scope. But outside, from 1996, a lot happened. We saw a lot in Europe, at home. Money changes hands. People were tuned to the fact that earn your money now and talk later. That is the motto. That is what has been happening in Uganda. We can blame poverty on what is going on. But the fact is, those organized groups who have used LRA and 𝙁𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙒 trademark and other rebels movement is bigger than what we may believe in. Of course, if you give 368,000 Ugandan shillings, it's a motivation that the other one will also hear and say, listen, if you do that, you'll get your 368,000 Ugandan shillings, and they will give you what? They will give you a hoe, they will give you a seat. You go home for some few days, and then you come back. I think those who might have succeeded in resettling themselves after coming back from the bush, they could be doing very well. But it seems as if even those who are claiming to come back does not want to stay in the village. They want to stay close to where there's action. And those actions are in Gulu Town. Those actions are in Liram. Those actions is in Padeh. So you find that the young generation who grew up in the camp, who had a lot of help from NGO who was feeding them in the camp, they came back. There was nothing to do. And they were not getting the free food or the free things they were getting from the NGO. There was no proper planning how to handle those people. There was no proper planning how to resettle those people at home. Because when you take somebody from the camp where he had been on help, getting food free, getting everything from the NGO, and you drop him in the village, he has got nothing. So it will force him to go for something different. And that is, if I cannot get the money to survive on, and I see people are faking to become, that they are defectors, and then I would do the same. And I don't blame those boys for it. I don't. According to what they're saying, if you look at what Amnesty International has received, over 27,494 defectors from 31 rebel groups. 31 rebel groups. Rebel group, ranging from LRA, West Nile group, and you begin to wonder, 31 rebel groups. That is a very big trademark. Very, very big trademark. You can go left, you can go right, you can go. You'll never get to the bottom of it. You see, when the peace talk started in Juba, that is when you can realize that everything going on does not make sense to some of us. It does not. Especially to me, it does not make sense. Because when the peace talk started, there was a lot of money to be made. And there was a lot of money already being made before the peace talk, using the LRA business model and ADF business model to earn money. The moment the peace talk started, everybody was focused on how do I get my hand on those dollars? How do I get my hand on those dollars which are coming in? Now, the fact is, people started organizing themselves. That is the problem with us Ugandans. We smell where there's money, and then we do whatever we can to get our hand on it. Get our hand on it. Money from outside was also coming in to help build up the process of the peace talk. People started organizing themselves in Uganda. You had a women group who are also saying, yeah, we have also to be a part of the negotiation team. We also want to go to Juba. We want to be a part of the process. That's not a problem. You can be a part of the process. But if you cannot have add value to the negotiation, then you should have not even claimed that you want to be a part of the process. People moved on to Juba simply because when you arrive in Juba and you go through the government, there's already a government agent which is taking care of your per diem allowance based on per day. Imagine if you get $200 a day and you spend 10 days in Juba, or say 14 days, you will come back to Uganda. You have had enough money to take you for some time. If you have brain, you can use the business model to advance your idea. But it's not only the women group who went there. You have the councillors with their representative. You have the MPs who also collected their own representative. They go there because the allowance is waiting for them. You have the religious leaders who are also saying we have to be a part of the peace process. They're also going there, their own interest, because they also want to get their hand on those dollars which was hanging in the air in Juba. Cultural leaders were also there. Elders say we are also held and we want to be a part of the process. But we were focusing only on money, the allowance that was there. We were not focusing on peace. We were not focusing on how to negotiate peace. No. Our interest was simple. You go there, you get your allowance, you get out. And someone can say, yeah, that is because of poverty, but let me tell you one thing. Poverty cannot allow you to sell your dignity for money. No, some of us won't do it. So you see a lot of groups where we're involved. a lot of groups went to Juba. And then from abroad in the diaspora, you also have a lot of groups. Some were organizing conference from left to right. And those rebel groups made people earn a lot of money. It's a trademark that you cannot just dismiss it as nothing. So when you talk about rebellion, look at what is happening in Congo. We have a United Nations peacekeeping force. What peace are they keeping in Congo? It could be, we could name them United Nations Goalkeeping Force. Maybe they're doing their own business now. Because if you want to enforce peace, then make sure that you enforce the peace and you get out of it, but you don't stay years and years and the rebels are still there. Years and years and the rebels are still down. The same in other parts of Africa. How long does it take to fight a rebel? And then, you see, when it becomes a business model, when you turn everything into a business model, you cannot run out of it. I can give you a lot of examples of the business model. Congo is one of them. Sudan is one of them. Somalia is one of them. A business model. You keep them online. You keep them moving. Those peacekeepers are not going anywhere soon. We could say they're gold keepers, they're uranium keepers, they're tin keepers, they're mineral resources keepers. Probably they're doing something very important there to maintain the source of minerals going out of those countries. Or there's something bigger, which we don't know. Maybe it's underground. So what Amnesty Commission in Uganda is telling me does not surprise me at all. Does not. Does not. I have talked to a lot of those kids they used to bring to Europe. I know what they told me. Even today, as I speak, there is still a group of people who are traveling to Europe, raising money to help abducted children by the Lord Registered Army, the business model. Even today, last year, they went around. But when you go to watch those kids and you try to talk to them, those abducted kids does not even speak any language from northern Uganda. They don't speak the language. And when you try to communicate with them, the leaders will try to push you back. You don't have to ask too many questions. Oh, we're very busy. You don't have to ask too many questions because they know that that is not the truth. They are just getting a lot of money. To keep their business going. When you're running a business and it's a business unit, You don't want to spoil it, so you keep the business going. Keep the business going. You keep the business going. We have a lot of people who claim to be a part of the LRA or RDF, but they have never been to the bush. They have never been to the bush. And if you look at the group that went to Juba, and then I ask myself today, do they still have that money? The one they got from Juba. That money is not there because it was a part-time. But let me make it a bit short now. We can talk about poverty. And we could also define it differently. If you don't have money to cater for your basic needs, such as food, drinks, water, shelter, or toilet, or you don't have a job, a land, or a home, and you don't really earn any money to meet the basic need, then they tell you you're in poverty. But if I have to talk about poverty, I can always say, and I will always say, poverty is a man-made disaster. It's a man-made disaster. We created ourselves poverty. Say I have a land and I grow food and I have all those food at home, granules, beans, vegetables, potatoes, cassava, and I have some goats at home and I have some cows at home, and still you tell me I'm in poverty. Does it make sense to you? To me it does not make sense. But that is the norm that is established by WHO or the World Bank, that if you earn less than $2, then you're in poverty. No, it does not make sense. It does not make sense. It does not make sense. I heard a lot of people talking about the causes of global poverty, that we don't have enough clean water, conflict, inequality, poor education, climate change, lack of infrastructure. Please. It is time we all go back to the drawing board and try to define poverty differently. When somebody has his land, he can produce his own food, he can eat properly, he can get medical treatment, he can go to the hospital and find that there are doctors there to help him out. He is not in poverty. He is not in poverty. So, for those of you want money from the LRA and RDF business model. I hope you enjoy that money. I hope you do. Because when you live in a country where everybody is only focused of money, 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 you want more and you want more, you'll never do anything to harm the ordinary people who has nothing. We have to move to a system whereby we can share what we have, that we can help one another, that we can work together to define our own, what we call poverty. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe.